Welcome back to Gabriella's Kitchen. I've got a great recipe for you today. We're going to be making steak tagliata. It's basically steak thinly sliced on a bed of rocket with Parmesan shavings, vinegary onions, fresh cherry tomatoes and a little side of garlic, Parmesan, rosemary potatoes. This is one of those recipes that can come together really quick and it's a favourite in our family. For this recipe you're going to need some good quality meat. I've gone for a really nice ribeye steak. Sirloin works really well, rump does a good job also. You also want some potatoes, something that's quite floury and starchy. I've gone for Marish Pipers. Some cherry tomatoes. There's some amazing rainbow cherry tomatoes in the market just now. It's the season for them, so try and get your hands on some of them. Parmesan shavings, some wild rocket, and we're going to do a little bit of vinegary onions to go on the side, so I'm just going to be using half a red onion today. First things first, we're going to prep our potatoes. We're just going to chop them to a nice small chunk. So the best way to chop a potato is with a flat surface. So just start by squaring the potato off. Just take a really small bit off, and that way you've got a flat, firm surface to work with. Once your potatoes are chopped, keep them in some nice cold water. This just stops them from discolouring and helps them get really crispy. So once they're ready, drain them, wash the water off them and pat them dry. We're ready to start sauteing. I've drained my potatoes and it's really important to make sure that they're super dry because water and oil do not get along. So I've just used a tea towel, I've patted them dry, and now we're going to go on to sauteing. So in a pan I've got some olive oil here. You want to make sure that you're using enough oil because we don't want to be pan frying, we want to saute for a good 2 to 3 centimetres. So to that we're going to flavour that oil up. So I've got some sprigs of rosemary, that's just going to go in straight away into the oil, and some cloves of garlic. You can leave them whole in the skin. This is going to help infuse and perfume that oil. As the rosemary and garlic starts to dance around the pan, it starts to move, you know the oil's hot enough so we can add our potatoes. Just be really careful now guys, we don't want to splash ourselves with this hot oil. Just gently drop them into the oil. So now the potatoes in the pan, make sure you don't overcrowd it, you want to move around. If anyone's made the Milanese, then you all know exactly what I'm smelling right now. There's something so magical about olive oil, garlic and rosemary all cooking together. It just fills the house with the most incredible smell. So they're going to be there now for the next 15, maybe 20 minutes. We're going to move on to the rest of the recipe. Just keep an eye on your potatoes. You want a medium-high heat. You want to see a few bubbles. You want to see them cooking and frying. Don't let the temperature drop too much so they end up boiling. And just keep on using the spoon to just help them move around the pan. I'm going to do a quick little pickled red onion. This recipe is really nice because you've got the sweetness from the cherry tomatoes. So a little contrast to some sharp acidity works really well. So for this we're just going to need 1 red onion. I'm just going to follow the natural lines on the onion and get nice little half moons. So just separate your onion rings in a little bowl. To that we're going to add a good pinch of salt and a good little teaspoon of some sugar. Castor or granulated works fine. Sprinkle that over, and then enough vinegar just to cover the onions. I'm using apple cider, but red wine, white wine vinegar works really well also. Just going to add my vinegar and just give them a little massage and help break those rings down, and leave that aside just to marinate and soften for about 15 to 20 minutes. You can just see now some of the potatoes are starting to get colour, so just make sure you move them all around so we get a nice even cook on all of them. Potatoes have got a really amazing, nice even golden colour. I've just taken one out of the oil, opened it up, tasted it to check that it's soft and fluffy inside and fully cooked. They're ready, so I'm just going to use a slotted spoon to remove them out and let them pat dry in some kitchen roll. Guys, a really important little note. Let this oil cool down and do not throw it away. This stuff will make the best pollo milanese, the best roast potatoes for your Sunday roast. So keep it and do not throw it away. The potatoes are cooked, just season with a bit of sea salt and just keep them in a nice low warm oven until we need them. We're going to move on to the steak now. So a couple of things when we're cooking steak you need to know is Your meat always has to be room temperature, especially if you like your steak pink, medium rare. This just means having it room temperature. When you slice it, it's going to be warm in the middle rather than cold straight from the fridge. Another really important thing to do is we only ever season our meat last minute, because if you start adding salt to the steak too early, the salt will draw moisture out of the steak, which means you're going to end up with a tough, dry steak. Another really important point is you oil your steak, not your pan. The reason we do this is if you add oil to the pan and the steak, you're going to create a lot of smoke. So, a bit of oil on the steak, both sides, massage it in. And we're going to add a really good pinch of some sea salt and black pepper and just rub that in and massage everything together. Once your steak is really heavily oiled and your pan's nice and hot, we're going to put it in and we're going to let that cook for one side for at least 3 minutes. We're going to get some really good colour and let that fat caramelise. When you're cooking steak, I do recommend using something like a cast iron griddle pan. This just allows the heat to really get super hot. For the video and the little induction heat, I've just got one of these aluminium pans. I'm going to keep my steak medium rare today. If you like it more well done, then you want to just seal it on both sides and you can put it into a hot oven. Even if you don't want to create a lot of smoke, as long as you seal it on both sides and into a hot oven for about 4 or 5 minutes, you'll get the same result. That's had 2 minutes, so we're ready to turn it over. Just be really careful not to splash yourself. And onto the side. And you can see I've got a really incredible, nice, even golden colour. That's had 2 minutes on the other side. Turn the heat off. We're going to take that out and just let it rest on a chopping board. It's really important when cooking meat that we allow it to rest. The reason we do this is if we were to slice it straight away, all those juices are all going to spill out and you're going to end up with a drier kind of meat. So it's important to let it rest so the juices can soak back up into it and you're going to get a really moist, delicious steak. So while the steak's out of the pan resting, we can get on to our next step of just slicing our cherry tomatoes. So I've just gone for a nice little range of different heritage rainbow ones. They all have different sort of qualities, some are sweet, some are slightly sharper, some have got more crunch to them. So just chop them up into nice little quarters, keep some in halves, just sort of get a nice variety of different sizes. So with tagliata, you always have to serve it with a wedge of fresh lemon. This just adds a great sharpness and helps cut through the richness of the meat. So I'm just gonna get a nice little wedge of lemon here and that'll be ready for serving. We've got our Parmesan shavings, really simple, just get your block of Parmesan and your veg peeler and just tear nice big shavings of it, or you can buy it pre-shaved already. Rocket's ready to go. I've got some olive oil to dress our leaves. Our onions have just softened nicely and they've taken on a lovely, rich, deep colour from that pickling liquid we've had them sitting in. So we're ready to assemble. The steak's rested for about 5 minutes now and all the juices have gone right back into it. So we're ready to slice it. You want to make this dish look really pretty. We can slice the steak on an angle and get really nice slices. So with your knife and holding your hand for support, just take it at an angle, 45 degrees, and glide your knife through it. Sauteed potatoes ready, so we'll start assembling. So just take your rocket and just scatter that over to create a nice bed. We'll go with some of our cherry tomatoes. These just add the most amazing colour to the dish. Absolutely love it. Just drain the liquid off your onions and just scatter a few of them on. These are going to add a great little sharp kick through the meal. Some of our Parmesan shavings. Again, just throw it on, it doesn't have to look perfect. This is a really rustic family dish. Now for the final touch, I'm going to add the steak. And just fan it out so you can really see all those amazing juices coming out of them. Final touches, some fresh sea salt on top of our meat. Good drizzle of some nice quality olive oil all over the leaves. And a drizzle of some balsamic glaze. There you have it, guys, a great dish for a crowd, steak tagliata with sauteed rosemary garlic potatoes. Thanks for watching.